Jan term supports you in designing a life worth living, a life that helps you become the person you want to be. Everyone on this campus is here because they want to support you and your success. Our speaker tonight is one example of the talented individuals we have on the Hill. I'm proud to introduce Jordan Davis. I learned tonight he is a junior, not a senior, so we have him for another year. Jordan Davis is a Dean's List student at McDaniel College, motivational speaker and entrepreneur. Born and raised in Randallstown, Maryland, Jordan recognizes that his experiences in early education and his spiritual upbringing, which took root at Salvation and Restoration Missionary Baptist Church in Baltimore, Maryland, serve as the foundation of his character. In high school, he transitioned from earning C's and D's to becoming a star student athlete at Randallstown High School, an accomplishment that was sparked by the motivating words of his high school digital arts teacher. See, education matters. Now Jordan travels the country and speaks to both students and educators about intrinsic motivation in education and to students about youth leadership. He is on track to graduate with a Bachelor of Arts in Communication from McDaniel College. At McDaniel, Jordan has held numerous positions, from player on the football team to resident assistant, RA, to local leader in McDaniel's first-year orientation program. Jordan plans to continue using his gift in communicating to create opportunities not only for himself, but for those in his campus and home communities. His mission is to honor the legacy of education and leadership development, and he is beyond grateful for the opportunity to carry out this mission in this presentations and the ones after. Again, let's give a warm welcome to our speaker tonight, Jordan Davis.
Now guys, there are four main things that I want to cover tonight in this presentation. The first one is choosing your major, and I like to call it the decision, right? Because it's the decision that almost everybody in college stresses over. I know I stressed over making my decision as far as what I wanted to major in at McDaniel College, so I definitely want to cover that. And then I want to cover the most slept on or overlooked resource that we have as students. Right, we encounter a resource every single time we walk into the classroom, even when we walk past the fountains in the buildings on campus. And I feel as though so many students are passing up on this one resource when that resource could actually be the game changer as far as charting your career here at McDaniel College. Then I want to give you 3 practical skills that you can take with you as soon as you leave here. Right, and I'm a motivational speaker. As Dr. Schwartz said, I travel and I do this a lot. And I see a lot of speakers who are, very emotional and passionate and do a lot of yelling and screaming, but to be honest with you, I'm not that kind of speaker. Right, I want to give you specific and tangible skills that you can not only use inside of the classroom, but outside of the classroom, and they're very specific. So at the end, please, listen out and take notes on those 3 things. And then lastly, I have a quick experiment that I want to do with you guys, and it's called the vision experiment. Does this sound good for everybody? All right, good. Thank you. All right, so tonight's theme is vision. And the reason why I chose vision for the year 2020 is because I see a lot of y'all on Instagram posting the caption, hashtag, Vision 2020, and it's cute. Like, it sounds good. Like, oh, 2020, I want to have clear vision in 2020, and all of these catchy things that we post on social media. But what students have to realize is that vision takes practice. Right, and I know all about vision because I wear glasses every day. Can I show of hands of my 4-eyed people? Glasses and contacts. 4-eyed people. All right, cool. Right. Y'all know my struggle, right? So for the people in here, you need to realize that vision for your career and your major isn't the same as vision when you wake up in the morning. Right, you don't just wake up with goals. You don't just wake up with dreams. Those have to be inspired and cultivated. Now, some of that is a part of your environment and who you surround yourself with. But another part of that is daily practices and the strategies and the things that you do every single day in order to spark your level of creativity. So again, vision has to be taught and vision has to be cultivated. And in order for you to choose the right major for you, you have to have vision for what you want to accomplish after graduation. And I feel like my story plays a lot on the theme of vision. As Dr. Barbara Schwartz said, I was a C and D student in high school. In the middle of my junior year of high school, I had a 2.4 GPA. That's like average of the average of the average. Right, but in my junior year of high school, I took a digital arts class that I believe changed the entire course of my academic career. Right, I had the digital arts course, and for some people who are a part of McDaniel Local, you might have heard a variation of this story. For those who participated in my entrepreneurship session, for those, this story is completely new. But I know that I had a digital arts teacher in high school. Right, and this digital arts teacher, she assigned a writing assignment midway through the quarter. Right, and I submit this assignment, and then she says, Jordan, I need to see you after class. So she called me after class, we're having a conversation, it's just me and the teacher, nobody else is in the classroom. This teacher said to my face, Jordan, that is one of the best writing assignments that I've ever received in my career as a teacher. Then she went on to say, Jordan, I know you're a straight A student. Like, I know you're gonna be successful. I know you're probably dreaming about going to college, and you probably already know what you wanna do, just keep working hard. And see, that flipped a switch for me, just like that. Because at that time, nobody had ever pointed out my academic talent and gone out of their way to tell me this to the extent of that teacher. Right, and it was one of the first times that I was congratulated for something other than my athletics. I was a three-sport athlete in high school. And this is the moment that I realized that there were people investing in me that I didn't even realize were investing in me before. And this is where I shift my mindset and I stopped being selfish as a student. Because everything that I was doing as a high school student was all about me and how I felt. But I realized that somebody was investing in me every single time I walked into the classroom. I realized somebody was reading my assignments and taking everything that I did in the classroom seriously, something that I should have been doing as a student. So I want to ask you, who is investing in you right now? Maybe it's your parents financially. Right? Maybe it's a professor that you just met last semester that you've already built a strong relationship with. But for now on, I want you to think about somebody else when it comes to your academic career. Right? Of course, you have to do things for yourself as far as what your interests are and when it comes down to choosing your major. But as far as your motivation, as far as your drive, what else is going to drive you? There's a thing in business, it's called ROI. And I want all of my business majors or perceived business majors in the room to finish this statement for me. Return on, come on, say it a little louder. Return on, right, it's return on investments. And from that point on, my academics were all about returning the investment that the teachers and my parents and my family members invested in me. Right, after I graduated as a senior at Randallstown High School, I competed in an organization called Future Business Leaders of America. And for anybody who's ever heard of this organization, it's an organization that allows students to compete in business-themed events for scholarships. The competitive event that I competed in was public speaking. And this is when I first realized that speaking was not only something that I loved to do, but it was something that I became pretty good at over the years. Soon after I graduated, I placed first in the state of Maryland out of the top 100 youth public speakers in FBLA. And then I flew out to California the summer after I graduated and placed 7th in the country out of the top 200 youth public speakers in the country. And that was my first year in the program. Now, once I arrived to McDaniel College, I was able to take that skill that I found and developed in public speaking, and I was able to turn it into a business, right? And this is when I started to take those business courses, and I took courses with Dean Ambrose and Professor Weedman, and they really helped me cultivate my brain as a speaker. Since then, I've done a TED Talk. I did a TEDx talk in March of 2019. As Dr. Barbara Schwartz said, I traveled all around the country to speak, and of course, I'm a communications major, so that can only help me as far as furthering my speaking career. Now, what I want everybody in this room to realize is that it wasn't until I took my academics seriously that I found my skill and my interest in public speaking. Like, people weren't asking me to be a part of Future Business Leaders of America when I was a C&D student. Right? People weren't asking me to speak in auditoriums and at conferences and at high school and at middle school when I was a bad student. Right? And for somebody in this room, somebody's been taking their academics nonchalant this entire time. Right? You might have gotten to McDaniel College with a 2-point something. Right? You might have a 2-point something now. But I ask you to pick up your speed as far as your academics because you never know what's going to be revealed in that. When I transformed as a student, I started to take my PowerPoint presentation seriously. It got to the point where on the day of presentation, when I had to present, they always saved me for last because nobody wanted to speak after Jordan. Like, Jordan would shut it down. They'd be like, yo, we got to leave because Jordan's about to speak. Right? And that's how I carried myself when it came to my academics. Now I want to talk about the decision because that experience in developing as a speaker has led me to become a communication major, which I am now. Now, when it comes to making the decision as far as your major, you have to focus on the gifts and skills that you have, not salaries and job titles. By show of hands, who knows exactly how much money they want to make? Like, you have a number in your head. It could be $1 million. It could be 6 figures. Right? Some people might know. Right? But I actually want you to get that out of your mind for the current moment. Because what you do when you focus so much on the salary or the job title that's attached to that salary is that you put yourself in a box as a professional. And I want to give you guys an example. Right? McDaniel College is known for their education program, their graduate education program. Right, so we have a lot of students who want to become teachers and then come to McDaniel College, but we have students each and every semester that pass up on the opportunity to become a teacher because they see the salary that a teacher makes. And look, when I was a freshman, I said that too. I'm like, bro, $35,000 a year to teach? Like, I don't want to do that. Right, but then I had to change my mindset because students who think like that are only thinking about one stream of revenue. Right? They're thinking about being a teacher as a job title and not an opportunity to develop a skill. And what I say all the time is that you need to focus on giving value to people. Because the more that you focus on giving value to people, the more revenue streams you're able to build for yourself. So when it comes to choosing a major, don't just type in Google salary of a teacher and make your decision based on that. You have to be honest about what skills and talents you have. There are people in this room that are built to become a teacher, but your parents have said, teachers don't get paid enough, so you don't want to be one now. And I'm being honest with people. I'm cutting deep. I can feel it in this room. So I really want you to think about what skills and talents and gifts you have. And people say to me all the time, well, Jordan, you're lucky that you found public speaking as your gift at an early age. Now, I will say that I am blessed to be able to speak now and to find my gift and to find my mode in public speaking. I'm grateful for that. But it also took work. Because again, realize that I didn't step on a stage to speak until I transformed myself as a student. And it all started with taking my academics seriously. Now, this is the teacher's web, and now this is a picture of what my web looks like. I'm a communication major, and I am currently applying for internships and job opportunities in the fields related to communications and broadcast journalism. Now, nobody else knows this in this room, but today, I literally just got an email from the NFL inviting me to do an online interview for their NFL 2020 Communications Summer Internship. Now, I've also been applying to opportunities with NBC Universal, CBS Sports, BET, the T. Howard Foundation, all of these different organizations. And I'm not saying this to gloat or to do a humble brag, but I'm saying this to everybody to see the potential that you could possibly have as a college student. I understand that McDaniel College is a small school. There's only about 3,000 people at this school, including undergraduate and graduate. But you don't realize that there are so many great people here that have graduated and have had very successful careers. And when it comes to choosing your major, you also have to think about what you are going to actually do every single day. Because there's people that's making 6 figures that hate their job and that they're miserable. But I will tell you, there's also people making $40,000 to $50,000 a year that love what they do and they wouldn't give it up. There's a speaker by the name of Inky Johnson, and he said there are a lot of people out here who are professional successes but private failures. And I want you to think, are you going to sell out as far as your major? Or are you going to do something that you love to do and find ways to build revenue streams? Guys, if I take this opportunity and I do really well and I get invited back, either for the NFL or for NBC or whatever I get invited for, that is not the only thing that I plan to do. I still continue to speak. One day, if God blesses me, I aspire to become an author. Right, and then I later plan to become a communications and public relations professor in college. Guys, I realize what I'm great at. And I don't try to put myself in a box as far as my career. Now, these are just a couple of opportunities to impact people all over and get paid to do it. And for everybody in this room, I don't expect you to figure out your major tomorrow. I don't expect you to figure out exactly what you plan to do after you graduate a couple months from now. Because even when people ask me, this is my new thing for 2020, when people ask me what I plan to do after graduation, I'll be like, I don't know, but I have options. You want me to go down each and every option? Like, I got the internship and the speaking and all of these different things, right? So what I want you to do is create options for yourself. Not get locked into one particular major or one particular opportunity, because you will have to choose your major eventually, but you want to have as many options as you could possibly have to not only operate in your gift every day, but to do something professionally that will allow you to have a great career. Now, Dr. Eric Thomas, he's a motivational speaker. He said, billionaires don't work, they think. And I'm going to let that settle in for somebody, because I feel like somebody just got hurt by that. Right? Billionaires don't work, they think. And when I think about a billionaire, I think about Bill Gates, right? CEO and starter of Microsoft. Now, I will tell you that Bill Gates does a lot of thinking in his spare time. And I actually watched a Netflix documentary in 2019 that was about Bill Gates. I believe it was called Inside the Brain of Bill Gates. And it talked a lot about his story and about how he built Microsoft, but it also talked a lot about Bill Gates right now. And Bill Gates spends a lot of time thinking, right? He gets paid to generate ideas each and every year. Now, when people think about Bill Gates or they imagine his thought process, usually they envision something that looks like this. Like a crowded office somewhere in like a little space in his house, and he's typing away, he's got stuff all over the place. Because remember, his mind is always going, so he has so many thoughts throughout the day. Well, I learned in the documentary that Bill Gates' think space actually looks like this. What Bill Gates does is, he goes into the middle of nowhere, right? Somewhere in the United States, but it's definitely in the woods. And he stays in this little tiny cabin right here. No cell phone access, no access to family or friends, just his notepad and his books. And he spends an entire week in the middle of the year simply thinking. Now that blew my mind. I'm like, this man not bored? Like, he reading books and taking notes the entire week? Like, that's just all he does? Like, where is he getting his food? Like, that was my question. Right, but what I learned is that individuals have to have a think period for themselves. And even if it's not an entire week long, what does your think period look like? When do you actually just spend 10 to 15 minutes after you wake up just sitting on the bed thinking about how grateful you are and the opportunities that you have? When do you ever just walk to class without your earphones in and you start generating ideas for yourself? When do you actually devote time to think about your career and to think about job opportunities and to think about ways to impact people in a positive way? What does your think period look like? And I wanted to put Bill Gates up here as an example because it shows ways in which we can cultivate ideas and potentially figure out what we want to major in through this class. All right, so now I want to go over three things in particular, but before I go to that, I want to talk about the most slept on resource in college. And it's actually your professors. Like I said, you walk into the classroom every day and you see your professors, and I know that there are people in this room that walk into class, you do your work, you take your notes, and then you leave and never talk to the professor for the entire semester. And we can be honest with ourselves in this. I know that I was like that a lot in my freshman year with the professors that I wasn't necessarily comfortable with. But what you have to realize is that your professors can talk to you and help you in ways that you never imagined. So you might be like, Jordan, how do I talk to my professors? Like, I'm a freshman in college or I'm a first year in college. Like, nobody really knows who I am. I don't have my major figured out. So what would I talk to my professor about? Well, I always tell students to create two lists. Right, the first list might look like this, right? It might be in your notes, and it might talk about things academically that you need to improve on. Right, and this is actually a screenshot from my iPhone notes when I met with one of my professors last semester. Right, and I keep these questions in my notes, and it was really only one question. It was something simple. I had a B in the class at the time, and I really wanted an A. Like, I didn't understand what I was doing wrong in the class for me to get a B, so I simply sat down and talk to him and say, hey man, like what can I do in order to improve my grade? What am I doing wrong as a student? Not only did I get that question answered, but I got all of these questions answered too. I found out that this professor graduated from the University of Southern California. And believe it or not, this is one of the schools that are on my list for graduate schools. So I said, well, I'm about to meet with the professor. This is the perfect time to ask him the questions that I need to know as a soon-to-be graduating senior. I asked him about preparing for the GRE exam. I asked him about graduate school in general, and it gave me so much valuable information from his personal experience that I would have never received if I didn't take initiative and meet with him originally. So I want to ask you, what opportunities are you missing out on to talk to your professors and to gain information from your professors? Guys, I changed my major twice, and one time I changed my major within a matter of an hour. Right? I made that decision. I was like, nope, we're not doing business no more. No more accounting, no more numbers. I need to switch over to communications. Because again, numbers isn't my skill. That's not what I can tap into and say, oh, I'm great at that. But speaking and communication, I realized that I could do every single day. And it wasn't until I had a conversation with one of my marketing professors, and he said, hey man, like speaking is what you love to do, communication is what you love to do, you will still have some of the same credentials as a business major as you would as a communication major. So why don't you just continue to do the thing that you love to do? So I want to challenge everybody in here to at least meet with your professors 2 to 3 times per semester. Right? Try to meet with your professors and talk to those who are in line with what you want to do career-wise. Right? And create those 2 lists. Have questions academically and figure out ways to improve yourself academically, but also have questions that are related to your career and things that you want to know as a student. Now I want to go over the 3 habits for academic success. Because anybody in this room knows that it starts with your academics. Like it starts with what you do in the classroom. Because believe it or not, you can't be a great individual outside of the classroom if you don't display that same level of greatness inside of the classroom. Now, mind you, it doesn't always reflect through straight A's or D's lists or whatever it may be, but you know individually whether you're giving a certain amount of effort in your academics or not. Right, so the 3 habits that I have, the first one is to wake up 15 minutes early. And I got a lot of people rolling their eyes right now, I can see it. But for me, during the semester, I would wake up at 6:30 a.m., Monday through Friday, every single morning. Somebody saying, Jordan, why are you waking up so early? Like, why is that even, like, classes don't even start until 8 o'clock. But for me, my morning routine was integral in me developing and cultivating ideas as it relates to my business and what I can do on campus. There are so many ideas that I've generated in the first 30 minutes of my morning because I don't even touch my phone in the first 30 minutes of my morning. I hit stop on the alarm and I literally go throughout the first 30 minutes of my day without having any access to social media or anybody else. Right, the entire floor is quiet because nobody else is awake at that time, and that gives me the opportunity to actually think and generate ideas. Now, this also builds discipline. So you might not be able to wake up 15 minutes earlier the first time, but try waking up 5 minutes earlier one morning. And to use that time to generate ideas and to be quiet and to be with yourself and to cultivate those ideas that you might have about your career. Right, the second thing that I challenge everybody in this room to do is to create an accountability system with your teachers and your professors. And again, that comes through the communication that you have with them. If you never have conversations with your professors and the people who are guiding you as far as your academics, they're not really going to know who you are, and you're not going to build that level of accountability with them. And then lastly, you have to sacrifice short-term money for long-term investments. This might be my favorite slide up here right now. And I'll say it again for somebody in the back who wasn't paying attention. Sacrifice short-term money for long-term investments. I know exactly what it's like to work a part-time job in college. And I know as college students, we need to make our money, right? Because our parents aren't always supporting us financially. And I'm not insensitive. I know that there are some people in this room that have to work 30 to 40 hours a week because they're supporting somebody else that's not themselves. Right, and I get that, and that's very rare. But if you had the opportunity, right, if you had the ability to sacrifice a part-time job, or at least some hours at a part-time job, to build something for yourself, it'll help you in the long run. And when I say build something for yourself, I'm not specifically talking about a business. You don't have to be an entrepreneur in order to build things for yourself in the future. I was talking to Joey Cross last week. Joey Cross just graduated from the Parsons School of Design, and he has done work for MTV, and he's done work for shows that P. Diddy has been on, and he's a really up-and-coming producer. And he said one of the things that he regrets about his college experience is that he spent too much time working part-time at Zales and not enough time applying for internships. And I want to let somebody know that right now that free internship that comes across your desk or that comes to your email could be the something that jumpstarts you as far as your career. And of course it's free, so we don't really pay it any mind, but it is those free opportunities to practice something and to operate in your gift that we pass on all the time. And we do it for money that's part-time, that we might blow on marijuana, that we might blow on gas money, or whatever it may be. But I want you to make the sacrifice and to invest in yourself long-term. And to be able to look at opportunities and say, okay, this might not be paid, right? This might not provide housing, this might not provide transportation, but I'm gonna make the sacrifice for my future self. So when I look back 10 years, I can say that was a great decision that I made. That was a great decision to wake up at 8 a.m. to go do an internship before my 1 p.m. class. That was a great decision that I made hours just Googling internships and doing my research and taking notes on these different opportunities. It was worth it to conduct those informational interviews and to reach out to people through LinkedIn. And that's another thing that students don't realize. It is easier than ever to connect with people. Guys, I'm nosy. I want to know exactly who I'm interviewing with. Right? When I got that email a couple hours ago from the NFL, I was actually able to find the person that was interviewing me through LinkedIn. And I've gotten this strategy through some of the mentors that I have at McDaniel College. You actually reach out to the person that's in the position that you hope to be in one day, and you do an informational interview with them. You ask them how they got that opportunity, what their experience was like when they were an intern, right? What their experience was like choosing their major and figuring out what they wanted to do in college. And again, we underestimate the power of these decisions that we make. So again, I know some people have some very personal situations and you have to take care of your loved ones and the people around you. I totally understand that as far as finances. But if you have the ability, make the short-term sacrifice for the long-term investment. Now I want to do a quick experiment, right? For anybody who knows me really well, you know that I wear glasses. I usually don't wear glasses often, but I wanted to pull them out for the purposes of this presentation, right? Can I get my 4 odd people again? Put your hands up. I want to see people that have glasses and contacts. All right, cool. All of y'all are with me, right? And my mom taught me this trick when I was like really, really little about cleaning my glasses. My glasses were always dirty. I don't know why. I guess I was just an adventurous kid or something, but my glasses were always dirty. Some people can attest to me, right? Now, some people clean their glasses by dipping them in water and dousing them in water, right? And then you wipe them off, and then they're still smeared. And the reason that the glasses are smeared is because you actually put too much water on them when you try to clean them. Watch this is gonna blow somebody's mind. Somebody's about to change the way that they clean their glasses in here, right? You dab the paper towel in here, and you simply just wipe with the wet side, and then dry with the dry side, and then your glasses are perfectly clear. And what I'm trying to tell somebody is, this is all connected to vision. Thank you. Now, the glasses in this scenario are representative of vision. The vision that you have for your career and what you want to do after graduation. And then the water in this scenario is representative of the information that you received in 2020. So what I'm saying is a little dab of information, right? A little ounce of social media use and conversations via FaceTime and talking with your friends. All of that stuff is great, and of course you can generate ideas that way. But you need to learn how to control it and filter it. Because I simply see students all the time that spend several hours just scrolling through social media, looking at what others have to offer. but they never internalize and figure out what they have to offer to the world. So when it comes to having vision for the year 2020, right, be able to control your use of social media and the messages that are coming in. That way you'll be able to decipher what's meant for you and what's not. Right, and you do this. Some people might have to delete the Instagram app as soon as they leave here. Right, but I guarantee you, if you spend more time with yourself and generate ideas for yourself by taking that think period, taking that first 10 minutes of your day to not use social media and to not be quick to talk to people immediately as soon as the day starts, your space will look a lot less like this. My clicker works, right? Your space will start to look less like this and more like this. My name is Jordan Davis. Thank you all for your time.